Yeah, you're about to get served. Recommend you surrender, or your feelings are about to get injured. You only got 3 chances to return the sender. So huddle up and throw some emergency measures into your conversation. You gon' respect this side of the net. Let's get on with the initiation. Yeah. Welcome to the Smack Fest, the beat down. The SWAT team is here on another beautiful day of shutting the week down. We're going for kills, not here for the thrills. Man, after this match, I'm talking about they may have to shut the beach down. Today, consider us your very strict house.
Good evening. Today is February 22nd. It's a Monday, 2021, and you're live on Your Talk Radio Show. And I'm half of the host. I'm Gary Palmer, and on the screen next to me, hailing all the way from the great state of Georgia, Augusta, is Mr. Kevin Foster. Hey, Kev.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Good. Had a great week.
We live in the beautiful states where it's still warm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shouldn't brag about that.
We really shouldn't brag about. Like right now, it's 74 degrees and it's nighttime, but we won't talk about that.
We ain't gonna go at them like that, man.
No, I won't go at them like that. I know it's just been devastating. Sure. It's just been a terrible week. Last week with the storms and the bad weather and everything that happened in Texas that you would have never ever thought would ever happen. To have them gone through what they went through with the winter storms, would have never thought that. But people say there's no climate change.
Yeah. when you looking at places like Houston and areas getting that much snow, and what they're trying to say, they mix it all up when they say no global warming. They say, well, there's no global warming. Well, it's the same thing. It's a climate change they're talking about, not necessarily just the fact that it's going to get hotter and hotter. It's that they done messed up the ozone so much the weather don't know what's going on. So we're going to have all kind of hurricanes are going to get worse, tornadoes are going to get worse, all of that mess. And
I expect Florida. I don't know when June 1st rolls in for hurricane season from Florida, which runs from June 1st to November 30th. I don't know. It may be an active year this year. The way everything has been happening with all these other states and people losing power and water pipes bursting and there's nothing you can do when you have no power and your water pipes burst.
That's right.
I'm sorry. There's just nothing you can do. I know you can say you can let the water drip. You can, there's certain things that they say that you can do, but that's if you got running water. If you don't have running water, that's it.
I don't understand that concept to let the water drip unless you can let the water run. I mean, if a waterfall is running and it can freeze, then obviously the water running in your sink don't mean nothing. It's still gonna freeze in those pipes. Metal pipes are gonna freeze it quicker. That's what I would think.
Yeah, because a young man that had did video commentary, and you could see the icicles forming on the ceiling fan.
Yeah, that means the pipe broke, water leaked under the ceiling fan, and it froze coming
down.
Dang.
So it's just like, wow. But you know what? But while everybody in Texas was going through everything that they were going through, we had an elected official who decided, he wanted to go someplace warmer with the family. And I think it kind of blew up in his face. And we all kind of know who this man is. Yeah. I think being an elected official, I feel that if it's something happening in your city, in your town, or in your neighborhood, I don't care if you're a local official, a state official, or a federal official, you need to stay your behind home. Yeah. You need to let your constituents know that you're working the phones, doing whatever you need to do to get services into your area.
That's right.
And Senator Ted Cruz, I'm sorry, you are Your Talk Radio Show's joke of the week.
Yeah, he's beyond a joke. That clown, man. Come on. I felt like this dude was messed up before any of this happened. The minute that he started kissing Trump's butt after Trump had dissed his wife and his father, I thought like, yo, dude, you there's something wrong with you. And then he plays that game trying to he wants to keep himself in the limelight because he wants to run for president again, I'm sure. So he plays these games like with the insurrection, and he's there's some sort of voter fraud, trying to play that game. He knows there was no voter fraud, but him and Holly, they want to play that game. And now to get up there and do this is just puts him in another area. It's like, dude, so now you just look stupid. It just looks like you might not have all your sense, man. Why would you run off to Cancun? Yeah, look, I know he got a family and his kids and everybody probably like, yo, we want to get out of here. That's understandable. But he could have said, y'all can go. I can send y'all, but I cannot go because I have to be here. There's no, he's talking about he thought about it as soon as he sat down on the plane.
No.
What you mean you thought about it when you sat down on the plane? Like, oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this. What?
Oh, I know. I think he was, when people were taking video and pictures, he was scrolling through his phone. That's probably when he's figured out everything that was going on.
Start seeing all those messages like, uh-oh.
I shouldn't have left. But the problem is that, okay, you're Senator Ted Cruz and you want to run for president for 2024. And we have a domestic situation going over here with domestic terrorism going on. Does that mean you're going to take your family to Cancun also as the president?
Yeah.
It sure seems like you will.
A disaster is no big deal. You got a disaster. And you say you can run off to Cancun.
But he talked about Obama not having done anything, not having been in office, not having done this, not having done that. There's plenty of videos out there that shows that he's done this. And now, you trying to give a reason for what you're doing. And I'm going to show this first video clip, which is Ted Cruz getting off the plane and he's in the airport. And this is kind of like his first official statement. So take a look at this video.
Well, Texas is going through horrific storms, and millions of Texans have lost power, have lost heat, and have been hurting. And our family was among them. We had no heat and no power. And yesterday, my daughters asked if they could take a trip with some friends, and Heidi and I agreed, so I flew down with them last night. Dropped them off here, and now I'm headed back to Texas and back to continuing to work to try to get the power on. What's happening in Texas is unacceptable, and a lot of Texans are hurting. You mean? Guys, could you let me check in, please?
Esa es una entrevista que no puede ser grabada. ¿Me permites? Por favor, gracias. Muchas
So we have one person who dropped the line in, David Heath, doing a
Yeah,
shout
my
out to his
boy.
cousin, Gwen Heath, for surviving in Killeen, Texas with no water or electricity, but hanging strong.
Yeah.
So apparently she decided not to go to Cancun
Cool.
or
Yeah.
some
She
Caribbean island or whatever. She
hanging
had to stick it
strong.
out. But
Yeah.
you notice that big old bag he had? I don't know. I don't know about you,
He might
but
have had a shaver. Maybe he got a big electric shaver or something in there, or his blow dryer for his hair.
it was all at work because he said he was planning on
Oh yeah, that's
working
right. He got
while he was
files and
there.
stuff that he had to bring
Right.
with him.
He was
Yeah.
planning
Okay.
on working. He
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So he so shout out to David Heath. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
man.
she's doing well. I'm glad that she fared well in Killeen, Texas. Because like I said, nobody would have ever thought that's like Florida getting all that snow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And and not knowing what to do and how to handle it. I know there's going to be a lot of flack for the electric companies in Texas that I guess through all
$17,000
Republicans.
bills they sending out now. You
Yeah,
imagine that? You get a
yeah.
$17,000 bill if you didn't had your
But
power
I
off.
but I had no power. How the hell I get a $17,000 bill? I ain't had no power.
Oh boy, these people are something else, man. They
But
don't
you
like
know
it when
what?
they lose money at all.
No, absolutely not.
And that's what the problem
And
was. They wanted to deregulation everything, so they got off of the government's network, off the way that things are supposed to be working. So they
Right.
got off of that network, and now they over there struggling. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, what you gonna do now, buddy?
yeah, absolutely. And with and I hate to say this, but with the dominance of the Republican Party in Texas, that Texas is the only one that has their own grid line. Everyone east and then everyone west, are tied into a system, but Texas is sitting out all by themselves. And there was a judge that did say that was telling people don't pay your bills. But I'm going to show that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
so now we got Cruz saying he was just dropping his daughters off and he was going to return back
He was
with
coming
that
back.
big
man.
old bag that he had.
He was coming back. Get a man a
Heck.
break. He was coming back. He was coming back.
Okay, let's go urban. I could put that stuff in my little backpack if I was going overnight and coming back. Okay, let's go urban. Let's just straight up urbanize.
You got to put out there who put him out there in the open like that. The one woman that he done defend over Trump put him out there, sending texts out to the whole family. Hey, we going to Cancun. You guys want to come?
I know, and that's the next video I'm going to show you. So we heard his first statement coming off the plane in the airport. He was just dropping them off, and he was going to be going back because he's going to be helping everyone in Texas, even though there is no video of him helping anyone.
Oh, they got video of him now putting water
after the fact.
After the fact. Anyway, how's the world? I like the way the cameraman kept following him around. Everywhere he went, cameraman right there. Where you going, Ted?
I'm checking in. So we seen that big old bag. So now let's go to part 2 of this story, and let's show you part 2 to say, wait a minute, something's going on. So here's the next video.
Because apparently, group text messages sent by Heidi Cruz, Ted Cruz's wife, show that the family's controversial Cancun getaway was a last-minute decision, one that came after she invited other friends in what was an attempt on her part to flee their freezing home. The chats were leaked to the New York Times and included in a Thursday evening story revealed that the senator's spouse made the pitch for coming along with her family, noting that the hotel where she'd be staying has plenty of rooms. Well, it's a pandemic, and that families can get a COVID test before they return. She wrote, anyone can or want to leave for the week? We may go to Cancun. The senator's wife also pitched a direct flight and hotels with capacity, seriously, and then they talked about the security and the cost and all that. So this is the nice thing. You need to understand that Ted Cruz, as we've seen demonstrated for years, will throw his wife under the bus, will not defend her when she's attacked. He doesn't give a damn about her. But in this case, even though this was apparently all her idea, he did the very nice thing of throwing his kids under the bus for a change instead. Because apparently it wasn't their idea at all. It was his wife, and he's spent 2 days lying to the national press saying his kids are to blame for the terrible decisions that he's made.
Well, a couple things. First, and then I'll forget the rest. But the group texts were leaked because like Ted and Heidi Cruz are telling people that it was the friend's fault. It was their kid's friend's fault. The original story was the kids' friends asked them to go on a trip. And the people.
And that's not true at all.
And that's not true. And so the parents of those kids were like, oh, really? You're throwing us under the bus, saying that my nightmare kids peer pressured you into stuff? No, the only reason we want to go to Cancun is because it seems like Heidi might pay for it. And also, I want to get the hell out of here. And originally when I heard the story, I thought that Ted Cruz's, I believed him, that the family friends asked the Cruzes to come on a vacation. And I think the reason that they did, I thought the reason they did that was because they're probably sitting around going like, oh, Ted and Heidi Cruz are always asking to come on vacation with us and they're a damn night. When should we ask them to come with us? Oh, I get it. When we're all skipping town during a giant crisis where people are dying, because even Ted Cruz isn't depraved enough to leave his constituents in the middle of a frozen tundra. And I thought they were like, oh God, he did. He came with us. Oh my God, I underestimated his depravity. But in this situation, I think the friends, because their friends leaked it. Do you have any idea what it must be like to be friends with Ted and Heidi Cruz? Like, it must be horrible. And so they're like, they upon them, their children getting thrown under the bus by the Cruz brood. They said, hey, I'm leaking this to the press because F you guys, you're a bunch of damn liars.
Now, one more thing, and then we got to move on because we got a lot of other stories really fast. I want to close the circle on this whole thing. So we've been talking about how going it all is crazy, going to chaperone your kids is crazy. But what you need to understand is Heidi Cruz apparently went. There was already a parent going on the trip. Even if you were going to have a chaperone, there's already one. So your argument that you had to be a good dad by going makes even less sense than it did before, you massive liar.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.
And that was from The Damage Report.
Oh, you know what? I think I just figured it out.
What's that?
I didn't see the friend. That's why Ted had to go. He's sleeping with the friend. Yeah, now I understand. You're like, when they talking about they needed a chaperone, he talking about he had the chaperone. He had the chaperone. He like, oh, so whatever such and such is going, huh? And the wife was like, yeah, she's coming with us. And he's like, yeah, I think I better go on chaperone. I'm gonna put you out there, Ted. I'm gonna find out if you're sleeping with that woman. They're gonna shut us off the air now.
Oh man. My goodness.
Hey, I didn't realize that though. The friends told on him. I thought the family. It wasn't the family. Okay, so it was the friends that put him out there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh boy, this like the plot thickens. It just it goes on and on. But this guy is a person that's supposed to be representing our nation, his district, and he just flat out lied. And if it was you or me that lied, they'd be ready to lock us up in jail for 20, 30 years. And this guy gets to skate by and be able to, try to put all this mess together, because this next video I think will sum up everything that did happen. And we're going to take a look at that video right now.
Senator Ted Cruz now admits his whirlwind trip to Cancun during an intensifying weather crisis was a mistake.
I'd initially planned to stay through the weekend and to work remotely there, but as I was heading down there, I started to have second thoughts almost immediately because the crisis here in Texas.
But he got a frosty reception. The Houston Chronicle says Texans' anger with Cruz right now could power an entire electric grid.
He needs to show up and act like he cares. How could he go on vacation like this? This is ridiculous.
Cruz says his young daughters asked to go on the trip and that he was still in communication with state and local officials. But adding to the outcry, the New York Times reports a series of text messages from Cruz's wife Heidi to friends and neighbors shows the trip was hastily planned. Mrs. Cruz telling friends her house was freezing, proposing a vacation until Sunday, and inviting others to join the Cruzes at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. The paper says the messages were confirmed by a second person on the text chain who declined to be identified.
When things are happening on the ship, we stay on the ship, and that's the commitment that we make when we sign up for these positions.
Cruz's office today did not respond to requests for comment about those reported texts.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
And, we got some more comments from some folks at the bottom of the screen. From Karen Shirley saying, shake my head. I guess she doesn't believe it, huh? I guess she doesn't.
It's just that the dude lie. When you lie that much, at some point you just should just say, all right, I'm caught, man. I'm busted. It was cold in the house, man. I'm freezing my behind off up in there, man. Like the wife said, she told it in the text message, it's freezing in our house. And I'm thinking like, these jokers make pretty good money. You ain't got no fireplaces?
I know.
you ain't got
nothing.
I mean, the gas, even if you got a gas fireplace, the gas didn't have a problem, right? Or no, some of them had problems even with their gas.
Yeah.
But if you got a wood, you throw some wood up in there, you light a fire, and your house ain't freezing so much. Or at least sit in front of the fireplace. His excuses don't make no sense. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would have sent my wife and children out if I had the money and the opportunity. They'd have been in Florida somewhere. I don't know about Cancun, but I'd have sent them to somewhere where they would have been with some family, other family members would have been warm. But I'd have stayed my behind in Texas. You a man? Come on, man. You're supposed to be a man. You can tough it out in the house. Then he can invite the lady that was going to go to Cancun with them that he's fooling around with, and the wife would have been in Florida. She wouldn't have had no idea. The power would have been out. Even if the wife surprised him, the power would have been out here. So he would have hide. It would have been good. But no.
You talking about body heat? No.
That's right. So he don't know how to do. He messed it all up, man. The clown.
He messed it up. Oh boy.
Come on, Karen. You know that's how they do.
But it's just like the Houston mayor said, you ran for office. You signed up for this. You signed up. You took an oath. You did everything that you had to do. And I understand you want to get your family out. Okay. Your wife has money. She's got your credit cards. Yeah. I think she can handle going to the airport and all that stuff on her own. She's a grown woman. You could have, if you wanted, you could have Ubered her to the airport, but you decided with that little overnight bag you had, it looked like a bag for a week.
He was planning on hanging out, boy. He was going to wear the same pair of jeans.
That was all the material for, all these confirmation hearings. That's what that was. It was full of books.
Yeah.
It was full
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I'm gonna help him out. It was full of not campaign books, but it was full of materials for all these confirmations. Where he wanted he and the other Republicans wanted a railroad, Mr. Garland again, and for what this guy has talked about, and I know I'm going to jump into that with Merrick Garland because he was Obama's choice to be the next Supreme Court justice, and it was just over a year before the election, and Republicans hollered and screamed and cried, "Oh, you can't be doing this." They're lucky I wasn't Obama because I would have shoved them down all their throats and said, "No, we're going to do it."
No lies told.
Because Trump did whatever he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, with no class, no nothing, and shoved, and created this mess. And that's the thing. And it's just amazing how they're doing what they're doing, and then now the Republicans are now fighting. There's another pop up, and just seeing what's happening is going on. But I also have, I think, a video of of the confirmation for Mr. Garland, and just to talk about Cory Booker had asked him a question.
Oh yeah.
And I think it reached him to his core because of what his family has been through when you talk about being fair and being just. So we're gonna take a look at that and just kind of see, what his response was from that. And let's go from here. So let's take a look at this video clip.
I come from a family where my grandparents fled anti-Semitism and persecution. The country took us in and protected us. And I feel an obligation to the country to pay back. And this is the highest, best use of my own set of skills to pay back. And so I want very much to be the kind of attorney general that you're saying I could become.
Guys, that's your next attorney general. Isn't that good news? An emotional Merrick Garland recalling his family's history fleeing anti-Semitism as he explains his motivation for wanting to become the country's attorney general. Nearly 5 years after his nomination for a seat on the Supreme Court was torpedoed by Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans, Merrick Garland finally got his confirmation hearing, this time as President Biden's nominee for AG. At an event announcing his nomination, Biden told Garland, quote, "Your loyalty is not to me. It's to the law, the Constitution, the people of this nation. Restoring the integrity and the independence of the Justice Department is just one of the many challenges facing Garland should he be confirmed. He'll also take the reins of a sprawling investigation into the attack on the Capitol and lead the DOJ's efforts to combat domestic extremism." Joining our conversation, MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman, who worked at the Department of Justice as chief of the fraud division and as the lead prosecutor in Robert Mueller's special counsel's office. Claire is still here. I mean, to see that emotion and that love of country, and that the next attorney general is someone who feels like he owes the country something, is such a pivot is not a strong enough word from what we just went through, where they were there wringing out every last public servant for their trespasses against, I don't know what, Trumpism, I guess. What an appearance today, Andrew Weissman.
Well, Nicole, I had the exact same impression. You compare this to the former Attorney General, William Barr, the contrast in terms of humility, in terms of a sense of giving to the country, of really approaching this as the people's lawyer, not the president's lawyer. And I don't think there's anyone who can think that that's not going to happen under Attorney General Garland. So in terms of those all-important signals and that personal message, it was really quite moving. But it was just as strong a contrast going from Trump to Biden as for us who lived in the Department of Justice, as it will be going from Barr to Merrick Garland.
I want to ask both of you about this reporting about the role that prosecuting Timothy McVeigh had on him. This is actually part of the Garland story. I remember reading it when he was nominated, but not really focusing on it. I don't know that all these details were ever shared, but I want to read this from the Washington Post. Garland said that he initially feared, because of reports of additional threats and truck bombs, that the Oklahoma City explosion was just the beginning of some kind of rebellion or war. Larry Mackey, a prosecutor in the McVeigh case, and that of co-conspirator Terry Nichols, said Garland encouraged investigators to run down possible connections to militia groups. cognizant that the case had greater meaning for the nation. His message, and we certainly understood and believed it, and I think ultimately the jury did as well, was that we're going to respond to terrorism by relying on the institutions that made this country so great, Mackey said. Merrick's theme and the prosecution's theme was we're going to be greater than they are. Claire, I think it's just, again, whatever your politics, this is a person who has experience prosecuting the kind of extremism that led to the January 6th insurrection.
Yeah, and he lived it. And he saw, I mean, we were very fortunate. If you think of the loss of life that occurred on January 6th, it was tragic that we lost lives, but nothing compared to what some of these groups could do with a well-placed bomb in a crowded area. Domestic terrorism is, in fact, the biggest threat to our country, and Merrick Garland knows it in his bones. And I am so comfortable. He's got a lot of work to do. I mean, I think Andrew can speak to the repairing and the restoring that needs to go on internally in DOJ. The career prosecutors who have been so discouraged. I mean, we actually had an attorney general try to dismiss a case after a criminal had pled guilty, because he was a buddy of the president's. And I got to just say this right now. I know I shouldn't go on this long right now, but I can't help it. I watched part of that hearing. I mean, Nicole, give me a break. Can you believe Cruz and Cornyn sat there and lectured Garland Merrick on politicizing DOJ? After what they put up with no hearings, no brushback, with the president under Donald Trump, what he did at DOJ. It was disgusting how Trump politicized DOJ. I mean, he tried to do it even more than he got away with. And the nerve of them to sit there and act like that, you know, I mean, Cornyn said the only reason he could ever vote against him is if he wouldn't pledge to keep politics out of DOJ. I mean, these guys have some nerve, don't they?
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.
And that was that video for MSNBC. Wasn't that an interesting little piece there?
Especially the last part.
That last
part. I gotta say it. I don't blame her.
No, I don't blame her either. Yeah. Because we all seen it. We all seen it happening. And then we see it now, you know, with the Republicans and you know, what they're trying to do to, you know, to these confirmation appointments and all this brouhaha that they're doing, but they would not do anything to Trump.
No, but it's I'm gonna go off of what my man David Heath just said. He said that Ted learned it from his lying traits from the master liar himself, and that's exactly what's happening. They're picking up where Trump left off. They start to learn how he got away with what he got away with. The man was manipulating all these people, and they want to go ahead and take those same tactics and use them to get where they want to go. You know, they figure like Trump may be screwed. He's screwed anyway, ain't no doubt about it. He's probably getting ready to go to jail with his taxes and everything. They're gonna find out some things they want to find. But the fact that they go down there to Mar-a-Lago, your boy Graham and McCarthy and all these people, they're trying to stick with him and get pointers on what they need to do. Why would Cruz be up there talking all that noise of Garland? Like she said, when Bill Barr was the worst butt kisser in the doggone industry, as far as politicians are concerned, the worst. And then they're gonna sit there and grill this guy. Hawley, Cronin, somehow they all do what they think they need to do to keep their name. You know, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity. In these guys' cases, I think they taking that to heart and they're just saying whatever they want to say. I mean, we're talking about 1995 Timothy McVeigh. Those same domestic terrorists are still doing stuff today. That insurrection don't happen unless you got those same kind of characters running around in this country. And they're not doing anything to stop it. And they want to keep promoting it.
Absolutely. And I think for years, there always should have been an intelligence portion on that when we started having this domestic terrorism back from 95. So you're going from 95 till where we at 2021. You had no one monitoring, no one looking at these types of groups out there. And imagine if we didn't have that insurrection January 6th. And these groups continue to to plot, to plan, to prepare, they could have really overthrown this nation because no one ever kept an eye on them. And hopefully, now that the Department of Justice will have an experienced attorney general, that they will create a group or a unit that will look at all these domestic terrorism organizations and monitor everything that they do. Because I think it's very important that we need to be able to do that. It's not the outside terrorists that I'm fearful of. It's our own folks from within.
Those outside terrorists are sitting back going, look what they're doing in America. They're laughing at us, boy. They're like, look at
and they don't have to do anything. Right now, they don't have to do
ourselves. We ain't got to go over there. We just wait till they do what they do and then see how that works out. And these fools will fight each other. The racists, we already know it's going to be almost impossible to get rid of all the racists in this country. But you can get rid of how they operate. You can stop how they get away with all the things they're doing. You let Trump get up there and excite them. And then they say, well, freedom of speech. If that's what you want to say, then we can all do that. We can go out there and start promoting the gangs and get out there and fight other people. Hey, take your weapons that you're killing your black folk with and start going in these other neighborhoods. Then what? Freedom of speech is going out the window then. Oh, no, you can't say that. Why not? This man just got finished telling everybody they might march down to the Capitol building and take our country back. Ain't that the same thing?
Yes.
So I can go out there and say
somebody on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. And I won't get it, and nothing will happen.
They want to use that excuse, the freedom of speech crap. Get out of here with that mess. We already know you can't use. You can't. There's got to be consequences for the way with the things you say. Yeah, you can say it, but if you say something that's going to cause somebody to get hurt, you're supposed to take responsibility for that.
Absolutely, and that's been and that's what this is what I don't get. That they go fly into Mar-a-Lago to talk to Trump, so he can tell them what they should be doing. And they, like little puppets, go run out and do it. Be a man. Stand up for yourself. You tell me you need to have someone like that now in order for you to be able to have a voice. Where was your voice before then? You've been sitting in Congress all these years. Does that mean that all those years ago you didn't have no voice?
It's just the acting capability. And they're sorry actors as far as I'm concerned, but they play that game and they get in front of the cameras and they have to put that facade on that they're concerned. I thought about it and I sat on the plane, and it was right as soon as I sat down, I thought about it and it was like, I probably shouldn't be doing this. That bothers me because it's like, dude, do you think and I say, do you think we that stupid? But there are some people that stupid.
He really thought about it.
It's just that they got a lot of in this country. We have a lot of stupid people. I don't care what you want to say. You can call them weak-minded. You can call them very easy to manipulate. They're stupid. I mean, the man, President Trump. Come on, this guy can say whatever he wants, and you still to this day got these people. I read these posts and I sit there and go, "What are they talking about?" And they're like, "Well, they're the best president the country ever had." What did this man do that they think he's the best president we ever had? And every time they mention Obama, he was the worst president we ever had. I'm going like, okay, I must be missing something. Obama got a lot of people health care, you know what I'm saying, that didn't have health care before. He tried to help out, and people may argue that he helped out the LGBT community too much, but he's just doing what he thinks he can to help people, period.
It's about people.
You know what I'm saying?
It's about people. Yeah, I don't care what your skin color is, what your sexual orientation is.
He was trying to help who we could help. But these clowns say that this president, who basically split the country up again, is saying we want to protect our police until it's time he lose election, then he want to kill the police. So go in there and whoop everybody. He was all down with when my man was had a man's knee on his neck. He ain't kidding about that. And then they try to make it seem like he's not a racist. Let me explain something to these folks, these people. Just because you allow rich black folk to hang around you still don't mean you ain't a racist. There's plenty of racists that have rich black folk. As long as you got money, they can hang around you. They still don't like you. They still don't want you up in their house. They still don't want you doing certain things with them. So don't fall for that because he's seen on TV with Kanye West and Jim Brown or whoever the heck else he wants hanging around him. That's an easy game to play. I mean, that's just the way they work that. Racists know how to play the game. They want to get their stature up. So they say, I can hang around these rich people. That's about that money, the greed. Games,
absolutely.
Man.
That's what I don't get. But like I said, the tides are starting to change because Donald Trump is now U.S. citizen Donald Trump. And as we found out this morning, the Supreme Court had a statement that they wanted to say. I'm going to show that little quick clip, and we'll talk about that.
I promise we will dip back into that in a moment, but we've got other breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The U.S. Supreme Court declining to block a New York grand jury from getting President Trump's personal and corporate tax returns. Pete Williams has the latest. Pete, explain this. Former President Trump's team has been trying to prevent this grand jury from seeing his taxes, and the Supreme Court said, sorry, Charlie, not going to happen?
Exactly right. You may remember earlier this year, the court said the president wasn't immune from the grand jury's investigative powers. So he went back to court a second time arguing, OK, well, in this case, I'm saying the subpoena is overbroad. And today the Supreme Court said it would not hear his appeal of two lower court decisions that rejected that. So two things about this. Number one, obviously, bad news for the president, who has fought tooth and nail to try to keep these tax returns away from the prosecutors led by Cy Vance, the Manhattan district attorney. The second thing is it doesn't mean that the tax returns are going to become public anytime soon. They may never become public unless Vance uses them as evidence and brings charges. So it's bad news for the president. His accountants now must turn over 8 years of tax documents to this grand jury that's investigating the hush money payments and other aspects of the Trump organization's finances. In response to the Supreme Court's order today, by the way, it was a brief, unsigned order, just one line. Cy Vance said simply, the work continues. And by the way, we've been waiting for the Supreme Court to decide what to do here since last October. That's when the Trump emergency appeal was filed to the Supreme Court. And my guess was the court didn't want to get involved during the election campaign and then didn't want to get involved in all the legal controversy after the election and then didn't want to get involved in the impeachment issue. But now that the coast is clear, the Supreme Court's order has come out, a brief one-line order saying simply it was referred to the Circuit Justice, Stephen Breyer, and denied.
Then what's the timing? If Cy Vance says the work continues, when will that grand jury see those taxes?
Almost immediately. The accountants, this is it. This is the end of the road for the president's lawyers to appeal here. The accountants for the president have always said they'll abide by whatever the courts say. And this has all been set to go sort of in the starting blocks. Even though Vance's team had won in the lower courts, Vance agreed to hold off on any demand for these documents until the Supreme Court has handled this case. You can bet that that is all ready to go. All they have to do is turn the key. Those demands will go to the accountants. The accountants are ready to turn it over. So I suspect this will be a matter of days.
So they're going to see it immediately. Can you give us more insight into what that means after that?
Well, the grand jury is going to have to decide whether these two new puzzle parts, if you will, they'll look at his taxes from the accountants, add to their knowledge of the Trump organization and whether that constitutes a crime. And Vance will have to decide whether to bring charges or not. But we know that this grand jury has continued to work. They've brought in new forensic accountants. Their work seems to be growing. The topics that they're looking at seems to be growing as well. They've said very little about this because of grand jury secrecy. But we know that it's expanded beyond simply the statements. Remember the genesis of all this. It was Michael Cohen's testimony before the Senate that the president wasn't truthful in stating his assets, that sometimes he would overstate them when he was trying to get loans, and sometimes he would understate them when he was trying to avoid taxes. That's sort of what got this started, and then the hush money payments as well, but it's gone beyond that. It's gone beyond those payments. It's gone beyond that treatment. It's looking at a much broader look at the Trump organization.
And as a reminder, the president's former fixer, Michael Cohen, was interviewed again last week. Pete, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.
And that was from MSNBC, their videotape. But folks have to understand when you're dealing with grand juries, It's going to be a long process. When you're talking about his taxes, and all the forensic accountants coming in to look at everything, everybody has to understand it's not going to be a quick process. It can go to the grand jury. If it was ever a trial, it could be used. It may not be used. Who knows? I think if people think they're going to be able to look at his taxes right away, it's not going to happen. Just to get the Supreme Court to back down and say his taxes has to be provided. It is going to be provided, but it's going to be some time before really anyone else gets to see it. Unless the indictments come down and the trial comes out and all this other stuff that happens. But if nothing comes out of it, if there is no indictment, if there is nothing pertaining to that case, it's going to stay private. So that's the thing about it. So I just want to let everybody know. But we also got another quick, when you were talking about sports figures, we had one comment said, "Don't forget about Herschel."
Herschel Walker, man. He said slavery was a long time ago, so we should just forgive him. We should just forgive the white folks. Don't worry about it. So that was 130 years ago. Blah 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 blah. Dude,
you had stuff that happened 51 years ago. That's not that long ago. I mean, goodness sakes.
January 6th, those were racists that was running up in the Capitol building. So obviously, why should we forgive them? They're still doing this stuff, man.
Right, and that's what I'm getting. It's always, and I hate to say it, always when it comes down to black folks, that y'all need to leave that alone. Y'all need to just no. Wait a minute, time out. Look how emotional Mr. Garland got because what happened to him and his family.
Yep. They just want black folk to forget. We supposed to forget everything.
And I don't get that. It still affects that man to this day.
That's right.
It's something that you can never ever forget. So I'm supposed to forget about the man that was hung on a tree here in Florida, because he looked at a white woman. Because he made a statement, he didn't listen to the white man. He didn't, he did something. So I'm supposed to forget about that man was hung. That man had a family.
Yep.
And if you brought their family on today, just like it happened to Mr. Garland, you're going to get emotional. The family is going to get emotional. And people don't forget.
So there's like my family had I don't know what the relative was called, but I was reading up on something because we had one of the women was a dwarf. That's why we was laughing at Amina. That's why we got dwarfs in the family. I said, but she's only 4'10". So we got but that lady from way back on my father's side, her husband got hung on the steps of one of the courthouses because they were slaves and they burned up the slave master. I said, "Yep, that's my family." They trapped them in the barn and burned down the barn. I'm like, yeah, I can see my people too. Because he was a real nasty slave owner, they said. And that he would always be beating on the different slaves and everything. So they got together and they killed him. They burned him up and then they took him and hung him at the steps of the courthouse. And I'm saying, and there's a lot of stories like that where some people were like, yo, we ain't having it. And then they want us to forget all of the stuff that went on with our generations. I don't want to forget that. I like that. I like the fact that they fought back. They like, no, we ain't having it. I don't want to forget that. So they want you to shut down. So you want to forget the bad and the good. I ain't forgetting nothing. As long as and that history is still here, you're supposed to remember it. They tried to erase that history and they still trying it today. To take all that history out of the schools so nobody can hear these things. They don't want you to know what went on because they figured if nobody can know, because it won't be long before you won't know what race is here anyway, because everybody's getting all mixed up in the first place.
Right.
So they want to keep their history like we did everything. And the black folks, as far as I'm saying the white people, they did everything and we didn't do anything. When I start looking at all of the stuff that black folk did, the things that we invented, and you start looking at all that stuff and you go, wait a minute, they never told me this when I was in school. Now, they were forcing all the other crap down my throat, but they didn't tell me these things. If black people really paid attention to what their people have been doing all these years, they wouldn't be so down on themselves. And you look at some of the stuff our people are doing, with the robbing and stealing and crazy stuff they're doing. But if they knew some of the things that their history had, they may not act like that. Their mentality might be different.
Absolutely. I remember we had to recite this in elementary school. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I mean,
and then they say, "Oh, that was a lie. He didn't discover nothing; it was already here."
It was here. But that's what they pounded into your head.
Yeah.
Growing up, they never talked about Black history
or
anything of what was done. Everything was done by the white man,
and
it was just nothing that even talked about during my elementary school, even middle school years.
Yeah.
And I'm a real young guy. Now let me stop. But it's just
yeah, we're pretty young people. I agree with
we're
that.
kind of young people, but it never happened.
Yeah.
But then when you talk about how through all these years that no one still wants to understand what we as Black folks have gone through, and talk and what families have gone through, and I hate to hear that my parents and my grandparents and great parents have all passed, because they're the ones that can actually tell you the stories.
Yeah.
Of what
my Uncle
happened.
Ronnie told me some of that stuff. I didn't know. I was up in the age before I even found out about some of that stuff. I'm like, see, we don't get to hear one thing about our parents and the old schoolers, they didn't talk.
No.
People they didn't tell us anything, man.
No, they thought that, to try to make it better for us.
Yeah. That's what they
to
thought they
not
were doing.
know, where I would say people of other faiths talked about it.
Yeah.
It's always been talked about. You could see it on on the different networks of what happened with the internments, of the Jewish faith, and throughout all of Europe, how they were taken up out of all these different countries. And you've got all this footage, and you got, and it's amazing how you still have all this footage. A lot of it is kind of old, but from the 30s, when Hitler got into office and everything that they were doing. But when you try to look for a video and footage of us, it really isn't that much. And someone posted recently on Facebook, and it was a picture, and it was in front of a building in Harlem, and it was the picture was full. Folks, a lot of folks on the sidewalk, folks are going up the steps, folks going at the top of the steps. Even had a mixture of, it was predominantly Black, but you had some white folks, and they showed the picture today, and I would probably say less than a quarter of that were still alive.
Yeah.
So all that history and all that knowledge is gone, and then that's why you wonder why our young folks don't understand what we've gone through, because there's really no one that can tell them the stories.
That's right. You know what? People I want to check, people get a chance, check out, there's a series on CNN called Lincoln. They really should watch that series, because Lincoln, and what really got me is, first, it was about the Dred Scott decision. If you know anything about Dred Scott, the Supreme Court made a decision that he lost. They had an abolitionist with Dred Scott were trying to fight to help the slaves be able to go to different states and be able to be free. So the Supreme Court said, no, he lost that case, because they said the white man or the slave owner had every right, wherever that slave owner went, whatever state he went to, that slave was still his slave, and that the white man or the Black man could never be equal to the white man. So no matter where he went, he was going to be that slave, and he could do whatever he wanted. Then I also found out, you pay attention, these folk always bragging about how Lincoln is this and Lincoln is that Lincoln was down with stopping slavery, but he told the people, but the Black man can't be equal to us. No matter what, they're not equal to the white man. He could never be equal to us. This is Lincoln, the one they're always bringing up every time they're talking about slavery. And everything. Lincoln says, I don't believe in slavery, but he didn't believe that the Black man should be equal or have what the white man has. So, he was still a racist. He was just one that believed that the slaves, that there shouldn't be slavery. And the reasons most of the Northerners didn't believe that there should be slavery is because the money that was being made. And then, of course, up north was like, hold on, they're getting all that free labor down there. They shouldn't be able to do that. So it was a jealousy thing. It had nothing to do with trying to help black folk. Everybody tried to make it look like Lincoln was out there trying to help black folk. Lincoln wasn't trying to help black folk. Lincoln was just trying to keep the the North happening, and it wasn't nothing to do with that.
So
messed up.
We're not getting paid, but we'll put a plug in for CNN and
it's a good series though. Yeah, there's some good history involved there where people get the wrong history because they'll tell you everything and you don't know until you find out. Like, oh, they've been lying. Well, they didn't lie. They just omitted certain things.
Well, there's always things going to be omitted, that they're not going to talk about. But speaking of slaves, the owner of My Pillow.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this video first.
They get every
and
dime
then we're going to give our comments on this, on the My Pillow man. I'm going to show this right now. Stand by, everyone. Here we go.
The CEO of My Pillow has been named in a $1.3 billion defamation suit. Voting machine company Dominion Voting Systems accuses Mike Lindell of trying to boost sales by repeating Donald Trump's false claims about a vast election conspiracy. The suit says Lindell increased sales as much as 40% by repeating the claims on conservative media while pitching promotional codes for his products like Fight for Trump, 45, and QAnon.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.
Now, wasn't that something?
Yeah, I'm laughing because David said they sent Willie up there in the plane. They got Willie out the field, sent him up in that plane. Yeah, oh man, my man from My Pillow, boy. Yeah, I can't wait till he go broke. I just want to see him go broke. That's all.
What happened was when this thing first came out, a lot of the stores stopped ordering his pillows.
Good.
So it was an effect on his business. It did hurt his business, but it wasn't enough where it took him down.
Yeah.
So what he did was he circumvented, like I said, he didn't worry about corporate businesses anymore. He went to the Trumpsters and then gave them codes to use. Now, isn't that something like subliminal messages? You can get 20% off if you send us the Trump code, Trump 45. It's just amazing. So I want to give a big ups to the companies that are looking to sue him for $1.3 billion. Billion. Okay. Because he did rag on their system.
Heck yeah, man.
And
no proof.
To me, it was no proof. And you're hurting Dominion in their process and what they do and how they work the machines. And it's funny. I think Dominion needs to go after more folks.
Yeah, they got a lot
more
of
these folks, more of these senators and these representatives and all these folks and all these elected offices that are going after him, because they're saying there was something wrong with the machines.
Yep.
There was nothing wrong with the machines.
Nah, man. It's all baloney.
It was all baloney. And they need to go, they need to continue to go after them.
Yep.
And like I say, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then go after you.
Yeah.
You want to investigate, Cuomo up in New York because you think he
you got to go
fabricated the numbers, then investigate it.
That's right.
And let it go where it may. If whatever happens, happens.
That's right.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, don't go after one, but go after the other. No, this program, what we say, we stand by what we say in the urban perspective is if he did wrong, then go after him.
Go after him. That's right.
But don't go after him and you just go after him, but you don't go after your other counterparts.
That's right.
As you're going after him. And that's the problem. And so we've got a lot going on. And but I think as we get ready to close the show, because it's gotten that time just flew by this evening.
Yeah, that was a quick hour, man.
Amazing. So, Kevin, what are your last minute thoughts on this?
I hope everybody is paying attention to what's going on around them, man. Hopefully everybody really is waking up, man. If they've been sleeping through this, wake up. And they told me you hear about this, stay woke, just wake up. Ain't nobody staying woke. They ain't waking up, period. So get up and pay attention to what's going on around you.
Absolutely. And I just want to continue to send my thoughts and prayers out to the folks in Texas. I know this week it's going to warm up. I don't know if it's going to hurt even more, because then, snow starts melting because the weather is going to get warmer and warmer and warmer. And where is this water going to run off to? I don't know. I'm glad people are getting their power back. I don't like the fact that they're getting charged $8,000 for it, but hopefully, that they'll get through this, and hopefully all our elected officials in the state of Texas stay their behinds in Texas and help these folks out. Don't wait to trying to go after the fact, trying to act like you're getting in front of the camera and trying to do something like Ted Cruz was. Now he wants video footage of him putting cases of water in somebody's trunk. Dude, you got busted. You got caught. To
That
me, there's
water,
nothing you can do.
He was putting the water in his girl's trunk. That was the girl that went to Cancun with him. That's what he was.
I told you, this is Your Talk Radio, and we give you from an urban perspective. And I think we got one more comment. And let's see. Thank you, David. We
my man David, boy.
We are.
David Carroll hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We want to give things from an urban perspective, and like I said, we're not trying to break on anyone, or as my grandson says, roast anyone. It's just that we just want to give a perspective from our side of the house, and we're glad that you tuned in. Please share. Please get other folks on. And we appreciate you hanging out here with us the whole time. Don't forget, we'll be back again next Monday at 7:30 p.m. And we will go with the next segment of Your Talk Radio. And we appreciate you hanging out. And Kevin, we'll talk again. And we'll get ready for the next show. And other than that, everyone, please have a great week and take care.
Be cool.
Cool.